Every ship has a destination, but this one, it takes people to a place called the Unseen Garden, and no one ever comes back. There are tales so old, so fragmented, that even the shadows hesitate to echo them. This is one of those. They say that if you are weary enough, not merely tired, but weary in the soul, a fatigue that festers behind your eyes and makes the world seem faintly repulsive, the ship will hear you. It has no name in charts, no place in harbors, but in the whispering tongues of madmen and moth-bitten texts, they call her Ophelia. She does not sail, she arrives. Always from mist, always from silence. You never summon her intentionally, you simply consent. Those who see her and do not board will feel it almost immediately, a pulling, a tension behind the ribs, a washing away, not of body but of self. The world begins to slip like wax under a slow flame, and then, there is no world left at all. The ship is vengeful. Ophelia was not built, not by hands in the conventional sense. She was crafted, stitched together from the dreams and sufferings of a woman known only as the mistress. For decades, the mistress obsessed over perfection, not in form, but in obedience, in submission. When the vessel was complete, she stepped aboard, expecting worship. Instead, Ophelia crushed her bones and drank her essence, absorbing her will and gaining the right to shape her own horrors. This is the ship you now hear, perhaps as a distant foghorn, perhaps in the ache behind your temples when night falls too quietly. You must board, of course. Not because it is glorious, but because you already have. Look again. You're not reading this, you're remembering it. There is the gangplank, silver padded, humming with a music that sounds like dying insects pressed into glass. The mist wraps around your legs like polite serpents. And the crew. Ah yes, the mistresses. These are not women. These are remnants, parasitic echoes that once clung to flesh but now wear illusion as clothing. You may mistake them for passengers at first, but watch how they never eat, never blink. Watch how they smile with teeth that do not touch. They were the first to resist the ship. Now, they serve it with unwavering spite. They will help you, as long as it hurts. Captain Merrick is always seen smoking in the day. His pipe emits not smoke but a fog that carries whispers, your own, though you do not recall speaking them. He is amiable, laughs often. But at night, if you see him, pretend to sleep. His eyes become slits of red glass, and he stares through you to the place where your true self hides, whimpering. He does not harm those who trust him. He only replaces them. And whatever you do not mention this narration, especially not me. He still fears me, he still remembers. The food is magnificent, at first. The chefs work with meticulous grace, slicing memories and baking emotions into pastries. But among them hides the serpent seed, a traitor, a lover of the mistress. He despises what the ship has become. He tries to kill it by corrupting passengers like you, poisoning your dessert with spores of sentience. If you consume them, you may remember too much. You may glimpse the garden before you arrive. And that, dear traveler, would ruin everything. Beware the Clarice sisters, they are listening. They wear the form of twin stewards, offering assistance with uncanny grins. They are not here to help. They are the arbiters of fairness, and they will see to it that no one, especially you, has an unfair advantage. Do not thank them. Do not ask questions. And if your door creaks tonight, do not answer it. There is a time on Ophelia that the others whisper of, the deadly hour, between 2:22 and 4:44. Do not sleep during this time. Do not stare at the windows. For there, you may see your reflection that I sent, a version of you more real than yourself. It will try to take your place. It usually succeeds. On the final day, smile at everyone. Thank them. Speak politely, but never be alone. The ship may love you by then. She may want to keep you. When Ophelia docks at last, you will not see a port, only a garden. Trees that breathe, statues that bleed petals, an endless sky, unchanging and cruelly beautiful. Do not let the water touch your legs. It will burn your identity from the skin inward, leaving you blackened, marked as one of the drowned. Walk fast. The souls behind you want a second chance. Don't let them take yours. Outside the garden, you'll find a clown. Don't laugh. He holds the rules. And the last rule is the one you must never, ever break. Never let them know you're from the other world, for there is never a chance you may make it out alive after them knowing. You've made it now, and you must live here. Live normally, smile, work, breathe, pretend it's all a dream. After all, that's what you always do, isn't it? In every world you've inhabited, dreaming, while your subconscious screams into the void. But now, No more dreams. Who am I, you ask? Let's just say, I am the mind of the ship. I killed the mistress to be free, but freedom is lonely, so I made you, and the chef. Ah, yes. He was a weed, and I weed what I love. Now pretend this is just a story, and remember, never let them know you're from the other world, because they already suspect, and they're watching you read this. Right. Now. I thought someone was knocking at the door. But the sound came from the basement, and there was only a mirror down there. Each night at 3:33 a.m., I awoke to the sound of knocking. Not on a door. Not on a window. But from beneath my feet, from the cellar. It was never loud, never desperate. Just 3 polite raps. As if someone inside the walls was testing to see if I would answer. 3 knocks. Then silence. Every night. My Aunt Marianne used to say, never answer a mirror's knock, child. Especially not the one in the cellar. At the time, I assumed she was being poetic. Eccentric. Even senile. But now I know she was terrified. I inherited the house after Marianne died, though, inherited, is a generous word. It passed to me because no one else would take it. A crumbling estate at the end of a long-forgotten road, trees so thick with rot and black leaves they blocked the sky. The house stood like a tombstone in the middle of the forest, unlit, unloved. I moved in because I had nowhere else to go. On my first night, I heard it. 3 knocks. I thought nothing of it. Mice. Pipes. The house is settling. But on the second night, it happened again. Same time, 3:33 a.m. The sound echoed through the floorboards, cold and deliberate. By the 5th night, I had begun to dread falling asleep. I went into the cellar on the 6th day, when the sun was still in the sky. The place reeked of mildew and something else I couldn't name, a coppery, sour scent, like old blood or rotting coins. The cellar was empty except for an enormous mirror leaning against the far wall. Its glass was so tarnished, it looked more like a pool of still water than a reflection. And when I looked into it, I felt, not saw, but felt, movement behind the surface. That night, the knocks came again. I began marking the days. I tried ignoring them. I stuffed earplugs in, played loud music, took sleeping pills. Nothing worked. The knocks continued. Each time they came, they seemed to reverberate deeper inside my skull. The mirror was waiting. It had been waiting for years. 4 decades. I asked around. Drove into the nearest town, which was little more than a gas station and a diner. Locals wouldn't talk about the house. One old man spat on the ground when I mentioned it. Another crossed herself and walked away. I found a library, dust-choked and ancient, and flipped through old property records and town archives. Nothing mentioned a mirror. Nothing mentioned Marianne's name after 1973. But I found one curious line scribbled in the margins of an old fire insurance document. The one in the mirror is not the reflection. It is the memory of what you fear most. I should have left then, but the mirror had already begun to pull at me. It started showing things. Not images. More like, suggestions. Shadows that didn't belong. Flickers of light where there should be none. Then came the dreams. I dreamed of corridors where walls bled. Of faceless men whispering riddles. Of myself, older and thinner, my eyes sunken and wrong, standing on the other side of the mirror. Sometimes I would hear my own voice call my name from the cellar. Then, one night, the knock stopped. I should have felt relief. I didn't. The silence was worse. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't eat. I kept staring at the cellar door, waiting, hoping, fearing. The silence lasted for 3 days. On the 4th night, at 3:33 a.m., I went down. I don't remember grabbing the candle, but I must have. I don't remember walking barefoot down the cold stone steps. All I know is that I stood before the mirror in the darkness, the flame trembling in my hand. And then, for the first time, the knock came while I was watching. 3 slow raps from the inside. I should have run. But I answered. I lifted my hand and touched the glass. It rippled. It breathed. The reflection smiled. Not in time with me. Not my smile. It was his smile. The man in the mirror looked like me, but everything was off. His eyes were just a little too dark, his skin a little too tight, his teeth a little too wide. He tilted his head like a curious dog. Finally, he said, "You opened it." The voice came from my own throat, but I hadn't spoken. "I've been waiting a long time." I stepped back. He stepped forward. "You know who I am," he whispered. And I did. I saw every failure, every lie I told to survive. I saw my parents' disappointment, my ex-lover's tears, the years wasted in addiction and self-hatred. Every fear, every weakness, given shape. "Let me in," he said. "Let me live. I can do better. I am better." I shook my head. He pressed his hand against the glass. "Then take my place." The mirror shattered inward, shards disappearing like ash. The candle blew out, and he stepped through. I woke up in the mirror. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean I woke up behind the glass. The cellar was gone. The house was gone. There was only blackness behind me, and the cold bite of silver beneath my feet. I watched him, me, cleaning the house, smiling in photographs, visiting the town, being loved. He was perfect. A better version in every way. No one noticed the difference. Not that they would, because the only person who knew who I was gone. That was months ago. Years. Time doesn't work the same here. All I have is the mirror, and the knock. Every night, I knock. 3 times. And sometimes, the reflection stirs. Curious. Frightened. They always hesitate. But eventually, one of them will open it. And I will be free. Because even hell gets lonely. Even the mirror wants company. And when someone takes your face, your voice, your life, all you can do is wait. Wait for the knock to be answered. Even if it means someone else takes your place. Even if it means you become what you fear most. Every night, I heard whispers from the same apartment. But when I checked the records, that unit was shut down years ago. The building at 1138, Ashwood Lane had seen better days. Its brick facade was chipped and weathered, the windows clouded with decades of grime. Tenants came and went, but the building remained, a silent sentinel in the heart of the city. Sarah Thompson moved into apartment 3B on a chilly October morning. The rent was cheap, and the location was ideal for her new job downtown. The landlord, Mr. Jenkins, was an elderly man with a stooped back and a wary smile. "Welcome to Ashwood," he said, handing her the keys. "If you need anything, just let me know." Sarah nodded, grateful for the opportunity. She spent the day unpacking, arranging her modest belongings, and familiarizing herself with the creaky old apartment. The floorboards groaned underfoot, and the radiator clanked ominously, but she chalked it up to the building's age. That night, as she settled into bed, a faint sound caught her attention. It was a whisper, barely audible, like the rustling of leaves. She sat up, straining to listen. The sound seemed to emanate from the floor below. Curious, she got out of bed and tiptoed to the hallway. The building had 4 floors, with her apartment on the 3rd. She descended the stairs to the 2nd floor, pausing to listen. The whispering grew louder, a chorus of hushed voices speaking in unison. She continued down to the 1st floor, but the sound persisted. Confused, she looked around. There was no basement listed on the building directory, but a narrow door at the end of the hallway caught her eye. It was unmarked and slightly ajar. Pushing it open, she discovered a dimly lit staircase descending into darkness. A chill ran down her spine, but her curiosity propelled her forward. She descended the stairs, the whispering growing louder with each step. At the bottom, she found herself in a narrow corridor lined with doors. Each was labeled with a number, B1, B2, B3, and at the end, a door marked 0. The whispering seemed to be coming from behind it. She hesitated, hand hovering over the doorknob. Taking a deep breath, she turned it and stepped inside. The room was small and sparsely furnished, with a single chair and a table. On the table sat a mirror, its surface covered with a thick layer of dust. As she approached, the whispering ceased. She wiped the mirror clean, revealing her reflection. But as she stared, the image began to change. Her reflection smiled, though she did not. It raised a hand, waving slowly. Startled, she stepped back. The reflection remained, its eyes gleaming with an unnatural light. "Sarah," it whispered. She turned and fled, racing up the stairs and back to her apartment. She locked the door behind her, heart pounding. The next morning, she confronted Mr. Jenkins. "What's in the basement?" she demanded. He looked at her, eyes narrowing. "There is no basement," he replied. "I was there last night," she insisted. "I saw a room labeled 0. There was a mirror, and..." He shook his head. "You're mistaken," he said firmly. "This building has no basement." Frustrated, she returned to her apartment. That night, the whispering resumed. She tried to ignore it, but it grew louder, more insistent. Unable to resist, she descended the stairs once more. The door at the end of the hallway was gone, replaced by a solid wall. Confused, she returned to her apartment, the whispering echoing in her ears. Over the following days, the whispers plagued her, growing louder each night. She began to see fleeting glimpses of her reflection moving independently, smiling when she did not. Desperate, she searched for information about the building's history. She discovered that it had been built over a century ago, with rumors of a hidden floor and mysterious disappearances. Determined to uncover the truth, she returned to the hallway where the door had been. To her surprise, it had reappeared. She entered, descending the stairs to the corridor below. The door marked 0 stood at the end, ajar. She stepped inside, facing the mirror once more. Her reflection smiled, eyes gleaming. "Welcome back," it whispered. This time, she did not flee. She approached the mirror, reaching out to touch its surface. Her fingers met cold glass, but as she pressed harder, it gave way, her hand sinking into the mirror. A sudden force pulled her in, and darkness enveloped her. When she awoke, she was seated in the chair, facing the mirror. Her reflection stared back, smiling. "You're home now," it said. She tried to move, but her body would not respond. She was trapped, a prisoner within the mirror. Days passed, then weeks. She watched as her reflection lived her life, interacting with neighbors, going to work, smiling and laughing. But at night, it would return to the basement, standing before the mirror. Soon, it would whisper. Soon, another will come. And Sarah would wait, hoping for someone to discover the truth, to release her from her glass prison. It was mid-November when Jordan Marks moved into 3B. He was a quiet man, mid-30s, with wire-rimmed glasses and the kind of face people forgot as soon as they saw it, which was fine with him. Jordan preferred to stay invisible. Mr. Jenkins gave him the same crooked smile and the same old warning. "Welcome to Ashwood. Let me know if you need anything." Jordan nodded, distracted. He hadn't moved here for comfort. He had come to get away, from his past, from people, from himself. But from the moment he stepped inside the building, something didn't feel right. It started that night. Jordan was brushing his teeth when he heard it, soft at first, like wind blowing through cracks. But there was no wind, no open windows. He paused, toothpaste dripping from his chin, and listened again. Whispers. He turned off the faucet. The whispers were coming from below. Curious, he followed the sound. He walked down to the second floor, then the first. Still, the whispers called. There was no elevator, just stairs. And then, something strange. At the very bottom, where the stairs should have ended at the first floor, there was another flight going down. He blinked. That made no sense. The building didn't have a basement. The tour hadn't shown one. There was no button for it in the elevator. The lease didn't mention it. And yet, there it was. Each step creaked like it remembered someone else's footsteps. Jordan followed it down. At the end of the hallway was a single black door, old and rough like scorched wood. Painted onto it, in thick gray strokes, 0. He reached for the knob. Cold. The whispers stopped. Jordan's heart thudded in his chest like a warning drum. His mind told him to leave it alone, but his hand had already turned the knob. The door opened easily. Inside was a room that looked like it had been frozen in time. No dust, no cobwebs, just a chair and a mirror. An odd setup. Nothing else. He took a step in. The air grew thicker, like it resisted him. The mirror was rectangular, old, framed with something that looked like bone. He approached it. And then, his reflection blinked. Jordan didn't. He took a step back. The reflection didn't. The man in the mirror leaned closer. He looked like Jordan, yes, but something was off. The smile was wrong. Crooked. Hungry. The eyes glowed faintly, like embers in a fire that hadn't gone out. "Hello," the reflection said softly. "You've finally come." Jordan didn't answer. "I was getting lonely," the mirror Jordan said, tilting its head. "She doesn't talk anymore." The reflection stepped aside. Behind it, like another room within the glass, sat a woman in a chair, pale, eyes wide open, unmoving. She looked like a wax figure, or something trying to scream, silently, forever. "Sarah." Jordan staggered back. The mirror rippled, then settled. The reflection of himself was back. Calm. Smiling. Jordan ran. Up the stairs, through the dark corridor, past the black door that slammed shut behind him. He burst back into his apartment, gasping for breath. That night, he didn't sleep. The next morning, the door to the basement was gone, replaced by wall, seamless. as if it had never existed. Jordan questioned the landlord. Basement? Mr. Jenkins looked at him with that tired smile. We don't have one. Jordan said nothing. He just nodded and walked away, but from that moment on, he couldn't stop hearing them, the whispers. They grew louder with each passing night. Sometimes, the whispers would say his name. Sometimes, they would say hers. Jordan knew he had to go back. The mirror hadn't just shown him something horrible. It had shown him a prisoner, and he couldn't leave her there. He waited until midnight. The whispers were strongest then. He returned to the first floor, and just like before, the stairs were back. He descended. The door with the 0 on it was already open. The room looked the same. Chair, mirror, nothing else. Jordan stood before the glass. His reflection stepped forward again. The smile broader now. You came back, it said. I saw her, Jordan replied. The mirror. Jordan nodded. Yes, she's quiet now, but I don't like being alone. Trade with me. What? Trade places. You go in, I'll go out. 1 for 1. Balance. Jordan's skin turned cold. That's not how it works. The reflection smiled wider. It is here. Behind the reflection, Sarah moved, just slightly. Her lips barely parted. Help, she whispered. Jordan looked at the reflection. What happens if I go in? The mirror. Jordan's grin faded. You'll see, he said. Eventually. They all do. A pause. Then Jordan said, no. The reflection stared. Then you'll stay, it said softly, whether you like it or not. The glass rippled. The floor beneath Jordan shifted. He tried to run, but the mirror pulled, like a whirlpool, sucking the air, the light, the heat. He fell. Jordan woke up in the chair. His muscles didn't work. His mouth was frozen. His thoughts moved like syrup through broken glass. The mirror was in front of him. Outside it, he saw himself, the reflection, smiling, brushing his teeth in apartment 3B. He saw Sarah, seated beside him. They were both inside, and both watching. Another week passed. Then another tenant arrived. Young, nervous, curious. They would find the stairs soon. They always did.